and welcome back to the XVI podcast. I am, of course, your host, Mark, and this week I am joined by Kurt and Dylan.
Hello there.
So,
That was the worst hello ever. There's
yeah,
no take two. We're sticking with it. So this episode we're going to be talking a little bit more about the games that we're currently playing. So we did do this way back when. I think the very first episode we talked a little bit about the games that we play, but that was almost a year ago, would you believe? So we're going to have another crack at it now. Plus there are some new and exciting games that have come out in the last couple of weeks, including The Outer Worlds, which I know, Kurt, you've been playing.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Tell us a little bit about it then, because I'm looking at buying it, but I want to know exactly what it is I'm getting myself into first.
Well, I admit it's exactly what I was hoping for it to be. Should I start off with some negatives first?
Go on, let's get them out of the way.
Yeah, because the positives outweigh the negatives for this, I say. Okay, yeah. So one of the negatives is to do with the combat, I'd say. So it's very clunky in a sense, in which like, especially with melee, when you're using say one-handed or two-handed melee weapons, when you're hitting enemies, it does feel very clunky and very sort of laggy in a sense, like as if you're not properly doing damage to an enemy compared to other games which focus on melee. Um, Shooting aspect is pretty good, but again, like the weapons themselves do visually appear to be clunky. But I guess that's just the art style and design aesthetics that they was going for. They've
Okay.
implemented like a sort of VATS system, just like Fallout. But the way
Right.
they've done it is that like you've been in cryostasis for like 70 years, and having woken up from it has given you an ability to slow down time, or like you see time differently when you want it to, and so it gives you plenty of time to think about your combat style, which I thought is a good method of implementing a sort of that system to it.
So it's more the perception of time rather than time actually slowing down.
Yeah.
Okay, that's quite clever.
I mean, yeah, cause it's made by Obsidian, the original creators of Fallout. It's got the original qualities of Fallout, especially New Vegas. So like every 2 levels you gain a perk, just like New Vegas. It's got different skills, and you pick certain categories that you want to level up the most, whilst still leveling up the others. It's also got like a special trait that you can select, just like in New Vegas, where you could select up to one, two, or none.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's got stuff like that, which is pretty cool. I would say the creator character isn't as grand, um, and mainly because you can't really see your character unless you're AFK or idle, and then the camera pans to third person. So it's like, why am I making this visual character when I can't really see it most of the time? Like even in conversations, you don't really see your character.
So it doesn't have like the mobile camera like Fallout 4 does.
Nah, it's just
Okay.
locked to first person. Yeah.
Okay. So without giving too much away, like what is the plot for the first hour or so of the game? Like what is the Outer Worlds actually about?
Okay. The brief general sense of it is that you're lost, like you're a survivor of a lost colony ship. You've been defrozen by someone, whilst everyone else is still frozen, and you land on a planet. And I'm currently just finding a way to get off the planet whilst exploring the map itself. It's it is free roam, but it's like sectionized areas. It's not one big map. It's sort
Right.
of
Yeah.
like Borderlands, how it's different map segments. but you can spend as much time as you want in them. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So the dialogue, like speaking to NPCs, feels absolutely amazing. What like when you literally speak to a character, you do get a sense of their emotion through their expressions, which is done really nicely. The options are really nice. Like there's lots of different options. I tend to go for a lot of the lion options, which I find hilarious. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff on there. It does feel like you're speaking to a natural character.
Well, that's good then. I mean, I'll be honest. When it was first announced, it looked amazing, and I was really tempted to pre-order it. But the more I've learnt about it, the more I've kind of withheld. And I think the big clincher for me at the moment is it's single player only. And I don't say that often about games, but this kind of feels like the type of game. It's a bit like No Man's Sky. You've got this huge world to explore. Wouldn't it be more fun if you could explore it with at least one other person? There are companions, I suppose.
Yeah, you can apparently have up to two companions at a time with you. I've
Yeah.
yet to gain a companion, but I'm looking forward to it. And it's like you can, like, say you're aiming at an enemy, you can direct a companion to use special abilities on them, uh,
Okay.
which is cool.
So it's got like a bit like Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say this game would vary depending on the person. Like for me, I like it. It's like the role playing elements to it.
Yeah.
But like the combat, I wouldn't say I'm a fan of it. But it's a good addition. Yeah,
Is
I'm
there an
just
option to
mainly
avoid combat?
yeah. Well, I mean, I've watched a video of a guy basically stealthing the entire thing, and like one shot in everyone with an OP stealth build, which uh, which I thought was pretty cool.
I mean, it's good they got the option in there because some people like to play that style of
Yeah.
game as well. Like Fallout New Vegas, there was a lot of people that created stealth characters.
Yeah, I do think you can talk your way out of every fight. I'm not sure, but I think it is possible, considering it's Obsidian.
Yeah, again, I like games that do that.
Yeah,
It's
they've
fu-
got the whole like New Vegas thing with the factions in which you dress up as a faction member, you're considered one of them or an enemy to another, and you've got reputation to build with them.
Final question on the Outer Worlds, and this is me having a little dig at Obsidian because I think we've buttered them up enough. I know they were working on a tight schedule and a tight budget when they made New Vegas, but have they hired more than 3 voice actors this time?
Yeah, I've seen a lot more variety in voice actors.
Good
Um,
stuff.
yeah, that's a lot better. But in terms of saying like you go up to a general NPC, say like I've gone up to a guard and then I've gone up to another guard and they've both had like the same dialogue lines but different voices.
Okay, I mean that's better than nothing, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, it always made me laugh watching Fallout New Vegas videos where you go and talk to like an NCR trooper, and then you go and talk to someone who's a completely different race and almost a completely different gender sometimes, and they have the same voice actor.
Hmm.
And I mean that's a Fallout thing. That's not just New Vegas because Fallout 3 had it as well, and even Fallout 4 has it to an extent. It kind of takes you out of the immersion just a little bit when that happens.
Yeah.
So you would recommend the Outer Worlds then?
From what I've played so far, I'd recommend it to RPG fans.
That's
Yeah.
kind of our audience. So there you go, people. If you're looking to buy an RPG type game and you're looking for a fully immersive first-person world, it sounds like the Outer Worlds is perfect for you. So yeah, with that, let's talk about another game that's come out quite recently, which is probably taking the world by storm right now. I've kind of kept away from the hype surrounding it, but Call of Duty Modern Warfare has recently been released, and from what I can see, the game is actually being received quite well. but there's a few issues with it that I'll talk about in a second. But again, Kurt, you're our resident Call of Duty player. How's Modern Warfare?
I like it. Same with Outer Worlds, pretty much. I'm having fun with it. Um,
Have you done the campaign yet, or have you just done
yeah,
multiplayer?
yeah. Sadly, the campaign was like what 5 hours, but
Oh, they kept it short then.
yeah, it's short. But the story is really good. The gameplay is really good. Very fluid. The animations are fluid. Um, it's just really good, on this new engine, and it's definitely a modern warfare game. It gives off the feel of playing, say, Modern Warfare 2 and 3 again. It brings back those good old days, and especially with the online competitive modes. They've got ground war in which like you can be in a vehicle, in a tank, quad
Yeah.
bikes. That's pretty good. They've just released the night vision game mode. So yeah, the map's nighttime. You're wearing the night vision goggles. You've got laser
Okay.
sights on your guns.
That
And
sounds pretty
so
cool.
yeah, you don't look through your iron sights or reflex sight or whatnot. You sort of tilt the gun and use the laser sight to aim, because
Okay.
that's how it is in real life when you're wearing night vision goggles.
Yeah, because you can't really have night vision goggles and then a scope.
Yeah.
So again, Modern Warfare. It looks good. That's the thing. It looks like a good game. I feel like I've been let down so many times by Call of Duty over recent years that I just don't think I can trust it anymore. So like the whole gun customization looks really good. The fact that you can put little add-ons on your guns to convert them into other guns. It's exactly the kind of weapon customization that I've been looking for in an FPS game. But is it still the same type of multiplayer? Like, is it still the same game modes? Is it still the same map designs? Is it just the same as last year, but with a couple of other things tacked on, or is it a completely new experience?
Um, I'd say it's both. I'd say when you're going into it, there's new things, but then it's the same things, but it's better. I'd say it's what we've been wanting since, say, like since Ghosts came out back in
Okay.
2013. So it's like, the previous what four CODs weren't popular, uh, but this one's good. So like you can open closed doors in the
Yes.
maps.
Yeah.
If you're aiming down your sight as you approach a door, you can peek, in which you open the door slightly and you just walk forwards to push it open. So if you're doing a tactical infiltration, you can do that.
Okay.
Um, Basically, almost any surface, say you're like leaning around a corner or peeking above a cover, you can mount it with your weapon. So it's like, say it's like you're using a bipod, but you're not. So you're basically just leaning and peeking and all that, and it's a really good fluid addition to the game, which does help.
Yeah. It's the little things like that can make or break a game for me. Like the whole thing of having doors. Um, it helps. Like if you're holding down territory on a
Yeah,
multiplayer match, having something like that, just a visual block between you and the enemy, can make the difference.
yeah,
Whereas in the past, it's always been open doors, open windows, or because from what I've seen, pretty much every door you can interact with on the maps. Whereas in the past, if it was closed, you can't, and if it's open, you can.
mm.
So it's good they've added that element.
If
There's
you
no.
if you got the game, Mark, you could join me on Gunfight, the 2v2s. They're really fun.
This is the thing. This is what I've been looking at, and this is where like I'm putting my trust in the developers now, because it does look like the COD game that I used to play when I was younger. It looks like Modern Warfare, but is it Modern Warfare? That's the question. Is it the game that I've been waiting for, or
Well,
is it
what's
just
funny is like in the audio settings, because there's the hit marker sounds, you can change it to the classic Modern Warfare hit marker sound effect.
Oh,
if you want it to. I'd
ah,
say you'd love it if you actually got it. You'd love it, especially the
s-
gun customization, as you said. Even the co-op experience. There's 4 co-op missions, and it's basically 4 different large maps which are free roam with
yeah,
multiple missions on them, and it's 4 player. You can revive each other. I
is that
think
the Spec
there's
Ops?
yeah, there's
Yeah.
also a sort of survival mode as well with waves, um, which was good.
Yeah, this is Call of Duty. This is what I used to play. How's it taken them so long to get back to this winning formula?
Yeah,
Like, I used to love playing Spec Ops, and some of the Spec Ops. I remember the one where it's like the retail park, and you have to survive
yeah.
certain waves of enemy. Just things like that. It used to be so much fun. And if that's genuinely what Modern Warfare is now,
Well, I
then I
mean,
will definitely look at it.
like the Spec Ops that Modern Warfare 2 and 3 had, all those little missions. It's
Yeah.
they don't have that. It's more big maps with a variety of missions on it.
From what I've seen, it's like a combination of classic Call of Duty moments. So like
Yeah,
the one I watched was it starts off like Mile High Club where you're in an aircraft, and then you parachute down into I think it's Scrapyard from Modern Warfare 2. Um, so I kind of I feel like it's kind of lazy developers, but it's also good nostalgia where they've sort of integrated old maps into each other and they've made it work seamlessly. So you get that feeling of nostalgia, even though they've probably saved themselves about 3 months worth of work by just reusing an old map. That's by the by. I do think it's really cool the way they've done that, and I do like these big grand scale type missions as well. It's one of the things I love about GTA is when you do these huge heists. So the more you're saying, the more I'm tempted.
Well, it sort of felt like as if I was playing Battlefield 5 or Battlefield 1, um, in which like you're parachuting down onto the map. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, yeah. What about you, Dylan? Do you think you can see yourself playing Call of Duty?
Oh, I can see myself doing it. Um, not anytime. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm just gonna say recent. Not soon.
You'd have
Not
to get it on the
soon.
PS4, wouldn't
Soon
you?
was the word I was looking for. Yeah,
Not anytime
I
soon.
don't see myself doing it anytime soon. Honestly. Uh,
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Yeah, I just don't. The new problem I have now then is the price. Like, isn't it 60 quid for a game that I might only play for two
No,
months?
on Blizzard it's 49.99
Okay,
on the
that's
Blizzard launcher itself.
that's slightly more reasonable. I did want to ask you about the campaign as well, because originally you told me one of the villains or one of the characters in the game was Kamarov, and
Oh
I thought they.
no. That's not it. In like so after the this is for the Spec Ops basically. In a
Ah, okay.
cinematic, Kamarov, he's a Russian um like military guy. He's a good guy though. He's not a bad
Yeah.
guy. Yeah,
Well,
he's in
this
it.
is what I was going to say, because I thought they were just being lazy again and swapping two letters around in Makarov. But I've gone back and watched Modern Warfare, the first Modern Warfare videos, and Kamarov appears in them as well.
Yeah, he's basically that guy.
Yeah, so I feel like I've been a bit too harsh on them there.
I mean, throughout the campaign, you don't see or hear past characters, but
Okay.
you do. Well, I'm not going to spoil it, but you do.
I know
You,
there's a lot of references to Modern Warfare in
yeah,
the campaign, and there are a couple of characters that are mentioned but not seen.
yeah,
Would that be fair?
yeah. When you get to it, you'll know, and you'll be
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah."
And I was also worried because it's Modern Warfare and they have to try and outdo the previous one. I know there's a couple of controversial moments during the campaign. Have you like what did you think of those when you got to them?
I thought, well, personally, I loved it, all of all of it. Like, I even got it up on YouTube to show my parents like these scenes, and it's
Really?
like, I mean, to some, it they might find it offensive or distressing because there's like terrorist attacks and other things. But it's
Yeah.
the way it's done in a cinematic feel, and like when you're actually there in first person, it feels amazing. Of course, in real life it would not feel amazing, but in the game, it feels well made. Like
Yeah.
as
No,
if it's
I know what
living
you're
up
saying.
to a modern warfare.
Yeah. No, I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah,
And it might sound weird saying things like, "Oh, it looks amazing," but I know exactly what you mean.
yeah.
Like it has that.
The representation is good.
Yeah. So it
Yeah,
makes the hairs stand up on like the back of your neck, kind of thing.
yeah.
And it's quite choice based as well. The campaign.
Oh yeah, there is a few moments where you do get to make a decision. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think my mind might be being swayed, but I think for
Yeah.
now, we'll move on.
Join me on Gunfight, Mark.
Is that what we're calling this episode? Join me on Gunfight. Because as well as games that we've been playing that are new releases, there's kind of been a conversation amongst the XVI guys that we're kind of going back to some old games as well. We're kind of at that period where there's not that many new games that are coming out that we're particularly interested in. So it gives us a good opportunity to go back and play some old games. So Dylan, I know that you've been doing this. You said you had your old PS2 out again.
Yeah. And I decided, I'm going to start playing some old games. But I didn't want it to be necessarily something I'd played before. I didn't want to start on that. So what I did was I went and bought Maximo Ghosts to Glory for the PS2.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about that?
The main thing that comes to mind is the difficulty. It lets you change difficulty and all, but the difficulty of this game is ridiculous to the point where I can't believe any child would have beaten this game.
So it's a kids game then?
That's how it's like. I believe that's how it was marketed. Of course, like made by Japanese developers and stuff, I believe.
Okay.
And it has that old arcade style to it, where not artistically, but it spiritually represents that, where it doesn't give you any tutorials. The amount of times you could save is limited based on how well you do, and you have limited amount of continues.
I mean, that just sounds like they're trying to troll you, doesn't it?
Yeah. And not only that, I can't control the camera. That was that was one of the main things that upset me. The amount of times I've died is because I can't turn the camera this way, so I guess I'm screwed.
So is that a hardware limitation or is that part of the difficulty?
I don't even know at this point. You would think. I don't know if my nostalgia is clouding my memory, but I'm sure most PS2 games back in those days had camera control.
Yeah, I mean, fair amount of them did. Is it a DualShock game?
DualShock 2.
So yeah, that's when they had the 2 analog sticks, wasn't it? So that should have camera control. That's a weird one then. So maybe they just wanted to have that as a feature so that the game plays a lot harder.
Possibly. Very possibly. I haven't reached I haven't beaten the full game yet, because after that I want to move on to the second one, where I have actually played some time in the past, but I don't remember it much. I want to see if that game has camera control.
That'd be the telltale sign, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
The second one does, then the first one maybe it was left out.
Yeah. I know the second one isn't as hard, but I'm still enjoying the game at least.
Yeah.
Even though you all know there was those times where I was like, I can't beat this game.
Oh, is that the one you were talking about?
Yeah, it was at that time.
Oh, it all makes sense now. Yeah, so for those of you watching, we've had a few meetings where Dylan's basically been having a mental breakdown in the background because he couldn't beat the game.
It's not. it's a joke. I'm telling you. I was fighting a boss, and I had to look up what exactly I was meant to do because it doesn't give you any indication of how you beat it.
Have you guys ever heard of the goat puzzle?
The goat puzzle.
No.
No.
There's a game called Broken Sword: Shadow of the Templars. It's a point and click adventure game. It came out, I think it was late 90s. There's 5 or 6 in the series now, but the very first one had something called the goat puzzle, where you go to a castle in Ireland and you try and go down a hatch into a cellar, and there's a goat blocking your path, and every time you go near the hatch, the goat knocks you over. And this is one of the it's so infamous it has its own Wikipedia page. The way to solve it was you have to walk to the goat, let it knock you over, and then you quickly run to the other side and move some farm machinery. The goat tries to knock you over again, and the leash that he's tied to gets caught on the farm machinery, and then that allows you to go back around to the first side and go through the hatch. But the game predates the internet, so there was no walkthroughs, there was no tutorials, there was no game guides. So me and my brother, it took us 2 months to work out what the hell we were supposed to do with this goat. And it sounds like that kind of game where there's a lot of puzzles where they don't necessarily walk you through how to solve them.
Yeah, the kings of that were the Sierra. They used to make all King's Quest and Space Quest games where
Okay, yeah.
you had to do very specific things in very specific times, and if you didn't, you basically couldn't complete the game.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've seen examples of that as well. There's like games where if you didn't pick up an item in the first chapter, you physically cannot complete the game. Like you get locked out.
That
Yeah,
sucks.
and this is like during the 80s and stuff and 90s, so there definitely wasn't internet. But I think the replacement for the internet at the time were like guidebooks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of the bigger developers had guidebooks, but a lot of the indie ones, like Broken Sword, was an indie game really. So there was nothing. You bought the game and there was a control scheme in a manual, and that was it. So I mean, some companies do still do that. They're inspired by that, but I mean, at the time,
Yeah,
so
man.
frustrating.
And with like the main audience being children, that's brutal.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's one of those things. But I like what you're doing. That you're not just going back and playing games that you've played before, but you're actually buying new old games to try out.
Yeah, man. I want to feel the nostalgia others feel.
Yeah, I think that's a good consumer advice. Is go back and buy, because you get them dirt cheap these days as well. So you can buy old PS1 and PS2 games for like 99p, even less.
I don't think so, mate.
No?
No. For the um, well, maybe where I'm getting them from like like a retailer rather than someone on eBay. But I'm paying at least what is it? Anyway, it could be anywhere between like £4 and £10.
Really?
Yeah, for depends on the game.
Where are you buying them from?
Entertainment Exchange.
Okay. Have you tried looking elsewhere? Because I'm sure a lot of them these days you can get for a lot
I
less
could
than
probably find them on eBay, but I do Entertainment Exchange for the convenience.
that. Yeah, no, I mean, fair enough.
Because frankly, if the game doesn't work, I could always just take it back.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, a lot of these games as well, I suppose you got to factor in that some of them are quite rare these days. Because a lot of them were just binned back in the day.
Yep.
Yeah, but no, that's good stuff. So I mean, new releases for me at the moment, the ones that I'm looking at are Planet Zoo, which comes out when we're recording this. It comes out tomorrow, but by the time this goes out, it would have been out for a couple of weeks. That's it. Kind of piques my interest. I like the fact that it's Frontier and they did a very good job of Planet Coaster. The same composers who did the Planet Coaster soundtrack have also worked on the Planet Zoo soundtrack. So the soundtrack, even if I don't buy the game, I've already said I'm buying the soundtrack because that's going to be epic. And it sounds like they've fixed a lot of the issues that Planet Coaster had. So a lot of the pathing issues have been solved. Some of the terrain issues have been fixed as well. They've taken on board what people have said. And a lot of people have assumed, well, they could just do that with Planet Coaster, but I don't think it's quite as easy as that, because they've changed the engine as a whole, and it's apparently it is possible. I didn't think it was, but apparently it is possible that you can apply a new engine to an existing game, but I don't think they see the economic benefit of doing that, so they've kind of used Planet Zoo as a test bed for the new engine. And who knows? They've speculated in the past about creating a sequel to Planet Coaster. So this could be the precursor towards that. But it looks like a fun game. Me and Ben were talking about it quite recently. He was expressing his frustration that a lot of people buy Planet Zoo and have been playing the beta, and they just build things. Like, no one looks at the animals, no one takes care of the animals, no one thinks of the effing animals. It's how he put it. And I'm kind of with him on that. Like, my frustrations with Planet Coaster were people would buy it and then use it as like a house building tool, and that's really not what it was made for. So anyone who complains about Planet Coaster having issues when they're not using it correctly, yeah, there's a whole murky area as to is that argument valid. But yeah, Planet Zoo is definitely one that I've been looking into. The Outer Worlds as well, as I've said, was one I was looking at. Modern Warfare was kind of on the radar. But beyond that, I mean, Football Manager 2020 comes out soon, and I'm already in the beta for that. So I've not actually played it yet, but I've installed it, and I'm eagerly looking forward to it. I'm kind of finishing off a season on 2019 first, and then I'll start 2020. So that's the only new game that I've bought, sort of over the last couple of months, in fact. So besides that, I've been knocking out matches on FIFA pretty regularly. FIFA's a funny one. It's a fun old game. They've really improved it this year. There's a lot of really cool features, but at the same time, it still feels like there's something missing, and I can't quite put my finger on it. It's just one of those things. I think there's something called the uncanny valley, where things get too realistic, they almost become unrealistic. And I think that's the problem with FIFA at the moment, is everything looks so real and so lifelike, and you've got real footballers in the game doing real tricks that they would do in a real football match, and then out of nowhere they just do something really derpy, and that's where it kind of takes you out of the immersion of, oh, what did he do that for? And a lot of it is player error, to be fair. Like, I'm a Stevenage fan. I play as Stevenage on FIFA, and I go and watch them play a home match, and we'll win quite comfortably, and then I'll come home and I'll try and do the same skills with the players that I saw them do in real life, and they can't do it, because in the game they're coded to not be able to do it. It's little things like that where it just makes me think, okay, we're not quite there yet, but we're getting very close. But yeah, beyond that, I've kind of been playing the same games as I've always played. OpenTTD, Planet Coaster, Football Manager, a little bit of Factorio, a little bit of Euro Truck Simulator. American Truck Simulator actually is a game that I've been looking at buying as well, because I've heard that that's quite good. But yeah, I'm pretty boring apart from that. So yeah, we'll come on to the last topic of the podcast, which is, there's a lot of games that have come out that you guys have bought. There's a lot of new games coming out that we're sort of interested in. Any games for next year that you're particularly looking forward to?
Cyberpunk. Hell yeah.
I was waiting for you to say that.
Of course. It's ever since like the first little reveal trailer, like of that woman, and there was like police surrounding her. That came out many years ago, and
Yeah.
to think it's finally coming out next year is just finally, the long wait is over.
Oh, you think you've had a long wait?
Well, of course, but still.
What about Death Stranding, Dylan? You looking at getting that?
It's weird. It's weird about that game. It's like nobody knows anything about it,
Yeah.
and it doesn't look that really interesting. But the less I know, the more interested I become.
It feels like a real marketing trick, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
they've been totally silent about it, almost to the point where you forget it exists, and then out of nowhere they'll drop a trailer.
They've been dropping trailers left, right, every now and again.
Yeah.
They've been dropping a lot of trailers since weeks ago. But the thing is, none of those trailers explain what exactly the game is. From the gameplay, it just seems like a walking simulator.
Yeah, like a lot of the trailers I've seen, it's either Norman Reedus or Mads Mikkelsen, and they're either standing there talking or they're just walking through some weird dystopian future.
Exactly.
So, what is this game? They were supposedly born out of the failure of Silent Hills. So is it related to that? Is it the same kind of genre, or is it something completely different?
I think it's the same genre, but who knows what Kojima's could be thinking in it.
Yeah, I mean, basically we're none the wiser. If anyone out there knows anything about Death Stranding, Kojima, if you're watching, get in touch. Please tell us what this game is all about.
In the end, I'm gonna do what I normally do and just wait for reviews. See
Yeah,
what other
no, I
people
think
have to say about it.
I think that's the smart option. Pokemon Sword and Shield, that's another game. In all honesty, I'd completely forgotten about. That's coming out on the 15th of November. Is anyone here going to be buying that?
I don't think I will because I don't have the console for it.
Ah, yes, Switch exclusive.
Yeah, I'm not privileged enough to have a Switch.
Not yet. Maybe one day. Christmas is coming soon.
Yeah, man, you don't know my Christmas.
Oh, that's a bit bleak.
Well, that's my character.
Yeah, we're all playing characters. No, we're not really like this, honest. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That's one that I've kind of... Again, I kind of forgot about it for a while, and then out of nowhere, a trailer came out, and then it looks so much like The Force Unleashed, and I really hope it's like The Force Unleashed, because I love the hell out of that game. So much fun.
I've been seeing positive feedback for that game actually. So
That's...
that could actually be a sleeper hit.
Here's hoping. I really hope this one does well, because there's been so many Star Wars games that just haven't quite lived up to expectation.
Yeah, they've just kind of fallen flat.
Yeah, but we'll keep an eye out on that one. It might end up being one that one of us gets, and then we'll be able to give some proper feedback on it. But yeah, beyond that, there's not many games that interest me that are coming out for the rest of this year. There's a couple early next year that I was looking at, and I'm trying to find them on this list. Cyberpunk was definitely on that list.
I would say there's one more game this year that's coming out that I have a little interest in, which is Darksiders Genesis, which is basically like, what would you call one of them dungeon and crawler games. Kind of like
funny
Diablo.
you say that. I'm looking at it here. Apparently, it's listed as Valentine's Day next year on this list.
What, did they change the date?
They might have done.
Well, either that or they changed the date to so it's earlier because it's coming out on PC. What is it? Fairly soon, I think. And then it's coming out for consoles at the end of December.
Okay. Well, we'll keep an eye out on that one as well then. Kurt, there's one here I'm surprised you haven't mentioned actually. Doom Eternal.
Well, I've not been a Doom fan.
Yeah, I didn't
Really?
think
I
you
could
were.
have sworn. I could have sworn during E3 you shared the trailer and was just like, this looks epic.
Sure, it looks epic.
Maybe, maybe, but I've never touched a Doom game.
Oh, I might have misread that one then. Marvel's Avengers, that comes out next year. Is anyone looking at getting that? I'm personally quite interested in that one. It does look quite good.
What's come out recently, actually, the past few days in Japan was Persona 5 Royale.
Okay.
Or Royal, whatever. But it's basically the original Persona 5 game with a new added main character, new features, so like new moves, new parts of story, and other stuff. And it's basically expanded the engine and added lots of new stuff. And that's why I've not touched Persona 5 ever since I first played it, because I'm sort of waiting for this to release out in the West so I can finally play what's supposed to be the full completed game.
Yeah, that's the reason, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what's the reason why it wasn't included in the original game?
Well, I mean, the original game could be said to be a completed game because it does finish and end on a good note. But this new one has better features to it and a new character. And it's like, they've expanded on the engine, which we were sort of hoping they could have just added it onto this original Persona 5 game, but instead
Yeah.
they're making it as an entirely new separate game. So you know your save file cannot be transferred over to it, which sort of sucks.
Okay. Oh, I tell you what, I've just scrolled down this list a little bit further. So you got games like The Last of Us Part 2, which
Yeah.
I can't own because I don't have a PlayStation.
Mhm.
But the ones that I've suddenly, again, it's not so much that I don't care about these games. It's kind of they get announced and then I just forget. It's like my own memory. Breath of the Wild 2, that's due sometime next year. And
Next year?
this one, apparently, it says to be confirmed 2020. It's that typical Nintendo
Damn.
thing, though. If they announce a game that they've pretty much finished, it's what Bethesda used to do really well. Is they would announce a game and they would say, "And you can play it today," whereas recently that's not so much been the case. Watch Dogs Legion as well was one that I'd forgotten about.
What about Rainbow Six Quarantine?
What
That
about
was the one I was about to say. I didn't
Yep.
know that existed.
what
Is
about
that
Halo Infinite?
Yeah, that
Is-
was shown in the E3.
was it? I must have missed that. Is that a brand new Rainbow Six game or is it part of Siege?
It's no, it's yeah, it should be a new separate game. It's set in the Rainbow Six world. Yeah.
So is it along the lines of Siege, like teams of 5, or is it more of a single player?
What was said here is its rainbow operators are tasked with finding and eliminating alien parasites, and it's not gonna be PvP, but instead will be like free-player co-op adventure.
Okay, that sounds interesting. We'll definitely have to keep an eye out on that one as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that pretty much does it for this podcast. I think we've had a really good conversation here about lots of different types of games. Hopefully, we've helped you guys as well decide on what kind of games you'll be looking for in the near future, and also old games that you might want to pick up and some current releases that you might want to check out as well. My big thanks to my guests, to Kurt and to Dylan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the podcast. You can also check out the podcast playlist, seasons 1 and 2, so you can watch all the old episodes, as well as the Meet the Team video, so you can find out a little bit more about what makes XVI tick. And if you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button as well. That really helps out the channel, and the like button, of course. And yep, thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care.
Bye.
Bye.